Is your RV pump running, making noise, but it won't pump any water? If so, stick around. We're going to troubleshoot it, and I'm going to show you an easy fix to take care of it. On. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Why Wait. I'm Chris, and today we are going to talk about the Shurflo water pump that's installed in most RVs. Now we're having trouble with ours, and I'm going to take you through a few things to check for if you're having the same issues, some troubleshooting ideas, and ways to fix it before you go replacing it or taking your camper into a shop, which I know you definitely want to do, especially if you're a full-time RVer like us. Now I realized I was having issues with my pump when I tried to sanitize my fresh water tank. I was trying to pump a bleach water mixture into the fresh water tank to get that sanitized in all of our fresh water lines. And with our Nautilus P1 system that we have on our Grand Design Solitude, you can switch it right to sanitize mode on the Nautilus P1 panel, and that is going to start your pump up. So I was having issues yesterday. The pump comes on, it makes noise, but I just could not get the water to siphon out of the bucket into the tank. And I've run into these problems before when I've done this. Now in the past, I've had to either hold the bucket really high to get it primed, I've had to fill the siphon hose with water to get it primed, and some other troubleshooting issues with that. Trying to get everything to get this pump to siphon, I started thinking, well, maybe it's not actually, the siphoning technique that I'm doing wrong. Maybe the pump itself is just sucking air, or the pump itself is just not working correctly. So I went ahead and I filled up our freshwater tank with water, and I just went inside and just turned on the water pump and just tried to use our fixtures, the bathroom kitchen faucet like we normally would, and just to see if the pump would even pump that, which we've never had a problem with that. And sure enough, I turned on the water and the pump wasn't even pumping water from our freshwater tank to our fixtures. So right off the bat, right then and there, I knew, okay, so it's not so much that I'm having trouble with the siphoning and trouble with the actual pump itself. So we went through and we started troubleshooting what the issue could be. Now, we're going to talk about some of those issues. We're going to talk about an issue that I've had with the pump in the past a few years ago and why I couldn't siphon one time, and talk about that. Show you an easy fix and a couple things to check for, to troubleshoot, and to get your pump up and running. The first thing you want to do is locate your pump, and ours is behind our basement wall here. Now, something I did to make getting in here a lot easier is I put some hinges on this piece right here, and then I put a little latch right here, so I can just grab this piece of wall in my basement and just open it right up and just have full access to inside here. And you guys can see there's a lot of reason to get back here. I mean, if you need access to your water heater, the back of the Nautilus panel, the pump that we're going to be talking about today, I mean, your cable satellite hookups, it's really important to have easy access to the back of your basement like that, so that really helps out. So here's our Shurflo pump right here. Now we're going to troubleshoot it and start with some of the most basic things first. Number one, first of all, make sure you have water in your freshwater tank. It sounds silly, but it's like the old lawnmower won't start. Well, did you check to see if it has gas? Make sure you have water. Make sure you have plenty of water in there for it to pump too, not just a little bit. So some of the issues that we could be having is it could be just pulling air. There could be a crack line somewhere between our tank and the pump. Now that's an unlikely issue, and let's hope that's not it, because to check the whole water line that goes all the way back to the back of the camper somewhere to the freshwater tank would be very difficult. It could be an electrical issue. There's a little fuse on here. We can check that, but we also kind of know that's not it because it does have power and it is running, but it just seems to be sucking air and not pumping any water. Hopefully it's just a simple mechanical issue with the diaphragm or the pressure valve switch inside here. We're going to take it apart. We're going to check out a few things. It's not hard to do. So let's go ahead and jump into that. If your pump, like mine, is actually running and making noise, but you're not getting any suction, it's not pumping any water, here's a little fuse right here. And we check that, obviously that's running fine. It's no issue there because it is getting power to it. Now, 2 years ago, we had a problem with this right here. This is your filter. And this just screws on and off. You can take it off by hand. It fills up with water, has a little screen in here. Now, 2 years ago when I had an issue with the pump, it was leaking, plus it was sucking too much air. and I actually had a crack, a small little hairline crack in this piece of plastic, and that was an easy couple bucks. Replace that little piece of plastic, and that fixed the issue, no problem. So that's something you can always check on, especially if you don't full-time in your RV and you store it over the winter. The water can get in here if you didn't properly winterize, and it can, you know, cause some cracking and things like that. So that's one of the first things we're going to check. We're going to take this off. We're going to inspect the filter, inspect this piece of plastic, make sure there's no cracks. We're going to check the connections here. We're going to make sure all the connections are tight, nothing's leaking. You can check these screws to make sure everything's tight and make sure there's no air getting into the pump. And if that's not the issue, if you have no leaks or no signs of leaking, we'll move on to the next step. Now, speaking of leaking, we have these little water alarm detectors right here, and you just place these on the ground anywhere in your basement or under your kitchen counters or bathroom counter, and you just place that there, and you can just, you know, it has a little suction cup, you can stick this to the wall. And these things have been lifesavers. We keep 3 of these down in the basement in different locations where water is likely to leak or puddle up, and these will go off loud as can be, and they will let you know you have a leak before it becomes a major issue. So definitely recommend checking out some of these little guys if you guys never heard of those or if you don't have any of those. Okay, so I recommend getting a container or 2. Once we start taking this part, you're gonna get some water, get a couple towels to soak up anything that's gonna come out here. And the first thing we're gonna do is take off this filter. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is disconnect these 2 hoses right here. This is the inlet hose where the water comes into the pump, through the filter, into the pump, and then out again on this side. So we're gonna unscrew these, take these 2 hoses off, and we're actually gonna check for any kind of debris or clog in there. Okay, we had water in both lines, which is a good sign, but at least we know there was water in there and wasn't totally just sucking air. We're gonna unscrew these 6 screws, 3 in the top and 3 in the bottom down here. I don't know if you can see them, 2 and 3. We're gonna leave these. This is the pressure regulator switch, and actually what I'm guessing the problem is regulator valve in here is probably stuck. Now you don't have to unscrew these. Once we undo these screws, this whole piece is gonna come off here. We're gonna be able to look inside, look at the diaphragms, look at that pressure regulator switch and see if it's stuck, and check all that stuff out and look for any kind of debris in here and stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we could take the 4 screws out that actually hold the pump to the floor. I'm gonna try to do this without that and just take this off. Okay. Did disconnect one of the wires right here. If you're gonna disconnect the wires, just make sure you take a picture so you know which one goes where. Okay, now this is the diaphragm right here. You want to make sure nothing looks punctured or stuck in there or clogged, or it looks fine. I assumed it would be. Now see, I can blow air through this side, and I know water's getting through here, and I know water's getting into here. I can feel the air come out. Go to blow air in through this side, no air is getting in there because this valve right here is stuck. This valve needs to press down when the pressure builds up for the water to continue along and pump out. So this is the little cavity inside here that the diaphragms over here occupy. And this is what I think is going to be the culprit, is this pressure regulator right here. There's a little spring back in there. It's almost like a check valve kind of switch. And we're going to see if this is tight. It should just move up and down. We're going to see if we can press on it and see if that's the issue. And I can't. It should be clicking, it should be moving, and it's not going down. So we're gonna see if we can break that seal and get that undone. So I've been pressing on this pretty hard, and I can't get that to break. I can't get that to pop down like it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and have to undo these other screws over here and see about getting into it from that side, and see if I can fix it from this side. Okay, as you guys can see, I finally broke it free. That little part that goes in there that's supposed to go up and down, I broke it free. Man, was it really stuck in there too. I had to press really hard. So now that it's loose, we're gonna put this back together and see if it moves freely after that. The part just goes back in there. This spring is gonna sit back in here, and that spring should be in there. Once you got the spring in there, you know, you have the tension of this popping back up on you. That's how it's supposed to look. Okay guys, that definitely seemed to be the issue. That little button If you can see right there, definitely hard to break loose, but now pressing on it, you can hear that, you can see it depresses. So as the pressure builds up in here, it's gonna push that open, allowing water to exit out of the pump. So let's hope that was the issue. I'm assuming that's a problem. From doing my research, it sounds like that's a pretty common problem. And now, here's the issue that can prevent that from happening, and we're guilty of doing this. We don't boondock that much, and we sit stationary for long periods of time, so we are usually hooked up on city water connection. When you're hooked up on city water connection, you're not using your water pump that much, and that's kind of a mistake. These things were made to be used, they're made to stay wet. It can dry up on you. If you had water, hard water like we do sometimes, even though we use a water softener, it's really hard water. Last place we stayed at, that calcium deposits can build up here and the minerals, and it can make it a real sticky situation inside here. And just to show you guys the calcium buildup I'm talking about, this is one of our quick connect water fittings we use everywhere, and you can see it just built up inside there, and that's the kind of stuff that can get inside your pump. It can dry up, can clog things up. So oddly enough, I just recently saw a video from, I believe, Todd Henson, and he runs one of the national RV tech schools down in Texas. And he had a video where he was just explaining and talking about this, how even if you're on city connections all the time, every once in a while, it's good to fill up your fresh water tank and use your pump.
The best thing that we can do is actually exercise our water pump.
Run your pump for a while, a few days, and just keep it used. Just naturally, you want to keep that cycle of using it every once in a while. So hopefully we're going to put it back together. I don't see anything else that looks wrong with the pump, so I'm assuming this is going to solve the issue. But you guys will find out at the same time I do. Okay, there we have it. It's all back together. The filter's on there nice and tight. We hooked up our water inlet side and the outlet side. We're going to go ahead and turn it on and test the pump out. See what happens. We're going to come inside. I'm going to turn the water pump on. Let's come over here to the faucet. There you go. Okay, guys, that was an easy fix, as you guys just saw. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you stopping by. And remember, get out there, start your full-time adventure, because why wait? We'll see you guys next time.